What's up, guys? CieZ's here, and today I wanted to bring you an example of a new American strategy I've been working on. I got kind of tired of all of the M15AA half-track stuff, and I wanted to develop something that would be a solid counter to the mechanized openings from the Oberkommand. You know, the Puma first, and also the 251 Flak half-track that they can get out. So the goal of this build is to skip the lieutenant and to actually just call in the captain, since he comes with double bazookas and since he gives access to the anti-tank gun for the US, which is, I used to not like it, but it's actually a bit better than I give it credit for. Especially once you get Vet 1, you get crazy range, like 70 range, and it can see pretty far as well. With this strat, elect to get the airborne doctrine for the Pathfinders and the paratroopers. The main reason I picked this is the 50 cal machine gun, I think, can be really vital to the mid and late game against Oberkommand in a lot of situations, especially if they are fielding a lot of elite infantry, most specifically Panzer Fusiliers, just because they're a bit harder to fight with vehicles than other elite infantry are, since there can be so many Fusiliers. The other thing is, I mean, Pathfinders are pretty good. I really like them on this map because there's so many buildings and they can still headshot things in buildings. And, I mean, the paratroopers are just ridiculously good. So, I figured, you know, he would come for one of the fuels. Turns out, this fuel, very hard. I see you open double stern pyos. There's no reason to really try and fight that. Basically, my game plan right now is going to be to avoid the stern pyos, because nothing I have can even remotely compete with them. So what I do as an actual opener is I get double rifleman and then an extra rear echelon. The second rear echelon allows me to recrew anything that I might para-drop, a lot more easy than if I only have one rear echelon. Since recruiting with riflemen's not optimal, you know, it costs so much to reinforce riflemen, but rear echelon are more or less free to reinforce, you know. I mean, not actually free, but they're extremely cheap. Then I grab the ambulance. This game my CPs are a bit slow, but I like an early ambulance just because rifles are, like I've been saying, so expensive to reinforce, and Pathfinders are even more expensive to reinforce than riflemen, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember the exact number, I could do the math real quick, but they're pretty expensive. I don't feel like getting a third rifleman squad is very viable, just because of the manpower bleed that will be inflicted, and because we're planning on getting at least one squad of paratroopers later on, preferably two, you know, if the resources allow. So I think I just started calling in, I did start calling in my captain. As you can see, it's about, I started probably about 5:20, 5:15. But yeah, all of your first fuel goes to ambulance and captain. If you really want to get the captain out sooner, you can delay the ambulance because it is 10 fuel. The ambulance timing is mostly preference and mostly the way in which the game is going. So, in this case, I managed to get the captain out right around the same time as his flak. And so, because I see that, the flak truck, I go ahead and pick up an AT gun. If I don't see the flak truck, then I probably will not pick up the AT gun, just because there wouldn't really be any instant use for it. As you can see, he thinks I was probably going for the M15 because he built a, for now, useless Rakettenwerfer. I kind of derped here and lost rear echelon, but it's not really that big of a deal. They're just rear echelon. I actually missed it. That was my bad. So here he brought his 251 Flak up, and I had a rifle squad in this area actually taking the fire from the 251. It's kind of a bad position from him because this is all blocked off, and I had my captain actually come up from this direction, and it killed the 251 Flak just with the bazookas. It takes 2 rounds of bazooka shots to kill it. So that's like a really huge win. Normally, you know, I would have to probably wait for the AT gun to come up to actually finish it off. The AT gun, as long as it gets the first hit, can shoot it before it can move. Shoot it a second time before it can move, which will kill it. Unless it's Vet 1, in which case it can use that concealing smoke stuff. So here I'm just trying to get all the cover in mid. He brings up a couple of MGs, which I think is a good move on his part. especially losing the flak. You know, he's going to need something to suppress. And I really like Pathfinders in buildings because their line of sight is so long, and it just protects them a lot more than in other cases. The captain, as you can see, it's a pretty decent combat squad, even with the double bazookas. I mean, he comes with a Thompson. I think right now the Thompson guy's dead, but they still get 2 carbines, 2 normal rifles. So here, you can see I unlocked the bar. This is also more of a timing thing than anything. I just had a lot of munitions, so I knew I'd be able to get the paratroopers with the M1919, which is the first priority. These M1919s are crazy good. But I knew I could get these and get, you know, some bars, so it was definitely worth it. And I still have over 60 munitions for, I think the squad already has 2 bars, and I can pick up another bar on one of my squads at some point. And just while I have a second to point out, I just want to mention props to my opponent Clan Tag here. He was definitely a worthy adversary overall. He's, at the time of playing, I think he was ranked 8 US, and he hadn't finished his placements as over command, but he'd only lost once until playing me, and that was his second loss. So I just don't want people to think that picking off that flak so easily was somewhat of a fluke. This build is definitely very, very strong against the flak. The flak and the Puma both. So here, I find his battle group HQ. I considered attacking it, but then I ran into all of this nonsense and was like, yeah, that's just not going to happen. So the next fuel purchase, after ambulance, after captain, bars if you want. You don't have to get bars. You can use all your munitions on your paratroopers if you want to go that way. In this game, just since I've had both munitions for so long, you know, the bars were definitely worth it in my opinion. So yeah, the next thing is your major, because the goal is, you know, after getting your early game established with killing their vehicle, it's definitely to get out the quickest possible Sherman. If you don't like Shermans, you can still go with the M8A1. I think both are completely valid options. I prefer the Sherman over the M8A1, just because the Sherman can kill tanks, and it's a lot more durable than the M8. This is a really nice move on his part. That ninja grenade wiping out my paratrooper squad. So yeah, he makes a really nice push here actually to get to the mid. And he's been doing a really good job holding, you know, his fuel in that area. I think he probably could have assaulted this stuff a bit more. Which, oh, look, as I say that, he doesn't. I didn't remember that. But yeah, this is a really good, for anybody looking for an Ober Commando tip, this is a really good spot for the truck on this map. It's very hard to assault, and it gives you really, like, secures your fuel, easy access to these munitions. So yeah, let's take a look at the fuel. Yep, I figured I was just calling in my Sherman. And I think I've thought about assaulting that with the Sherman. I don't remember if I actually am able to. But the main thing that you want to be doing with this early Sherman, theoretically this should be quite a bit quicker than if you had gone a lieutenant with an M15. Because okay, lieutenant's 50, M15 60, that's 110 compared to the 60 of the captain. So yeah, you're about 50 fuel quicker on your Sherman than if you open lieutenant. You really want to hunt their elite infantry. Their fall Sherms, their Aubers, to a lesser extent their Fusiliers. So you can see I went really aggressive on that squad. You really don't have to worry about Fausts unless you know there's an AT gun in the area, because you can just pop out and repair pretty much instantly with your crew. And yeah, I mean, the Faust animation takes a pretty long time to shoot, and you know, the Sherman HE shells are crazy good. He does a good job of bringing in the Jagdpanzer IV. I was actually a bit surprised at how quickly he got that. I actually wonder if he has... I guess I can't see. I could probably guess. 15 fuel. No, he probably doesn't have the conversion on. Maybe he did at some point. But I mean, that's what, 140 fuel, 135 fuel there. So I was actually a little bit worried The good news is, I still have my AT gun laying around. I still have my now Vet 2 Captain Squad and bazookas. If you can flank Jagdpanzers and SU-85s, bazookas are pretty good against them. Not as good as the front, just because the Jagdpanzer has like 200 frontal armor or something really crazy like that. So yeah, I just pulled my Sherman back, to heal it up, and so he does have a really nice AT tank. The problem is this thing's not very mobile, and it doesn't kill infantry. So I can still run my Sherman around the flanks and do, a lot of manpower damage to him. Doing the building camping thing on Samosky, of course. And the nice thing is, these Pathfinders, they're just seeing so much. This is why I love the Pathfinders. I think at Vet 2 they get extra sight. Maybe, yeah, the Vet 1. So I mean, it really helps me know where this Jagdpanzer is, so that I can, be aware of that. Here, this is probably a bit silly of me. I wanted to try to hit his MG, but it didn't really do anything. I was able to use that kind of distraction, so to speak, to bring up my AT gun, and once again you can see it's the house squad slash the Pathfinders just constantly spotting for my AT gun. The sight, like I've been saying, is so nice. So one little tip I'll give about using Pathfinders is you never want them in the front, especially against infantry. Here it's fine because it's just a tank. I mean, this thing's never going to kill Pathfinders. I want to get him in the church anyway. But they're really expensive, and they're only a 4-man squad. But they're only good at range, max range. So you always want to keep them in the back. Just view them as a support unit. I kind of view them in the same vein as like a support weapon, kind of like an MG. I think I'm going to send my Sherman over here in a minute to deal with those Fallschirms, because there's not much ground I can gain here against, the Jagdpanzer, and green cover Fallschirms aren't, it'd be really hard to actually get to there. So you can see he's instantly retreating here, but I think I still end up wiping the squad, just the MG, the mounted MG on the Sherman is just so good. Definitely you always want to upgrade that as soon as you can. It's 100% worth the 70 munition investment in it. As you can see, I still have 300 munitions after getting bars, after getting my M1919s, after getting this. So my next purchase here is a Jackson, M36 Jackson. I probably could have just gotten another Sherman, since I have this AT gun and I have easy access to a second AT gun. But the one Sherman has been doing fine. I have, if we look at the map here, I have, what, 2 VPs, I guess 1 now, but I have a sizable portion of the map. So I don't really need this Sherman, and I wanted to be able to kind of push his Jagdpanzer back more. The Jackson matches it in range and does, what, 240 damage a shot, so yeah, it's just so much damage per shot. I think I tried to flank in here to get engine damage and also bring in my captain. Like I was, saying flanking captains are really good, but he had a really well placed pair of MGs to completely shut that down. And this is another thing I love about the US, just their crews being able to pop out and repair gives you such a big repair advantage. If we turn off the fog of war, his tank was probably about as hurt as, both of mine were. And one of mine's already back in action, and if I had chosen to pop out this crew, this would probably be repaired already, and his is still, what, halfway. I didn't pop out this crew because I didn't want any, Fallschirms coming out of that house or that house and just snagging it before I could react. I figured, having one crew still in the tank would, protect from that. And he has a nice defensive position in mid. I'm pretty aware of that, and he brings in a Puma. I think he gets a little bit too gung-ho with this Puma. The Jackson's really good against the Puma, and I have double AT guns. I probably would have used the Puma more as a way to scout and protect this guy from flanks. So the Jackson just drives up and is like, "Oh, hey there, Puma. How do you like getting, you know, 2/3 of your health popped off?" And I tried to attack ground there. If we turned the fog of war back on, I couldn't see it. But one thing I always, you know, try to do is attack ground through the smoke. There's basically no reason not to. You know, it's a lot less accurate, but you still have a good chance of getting the kill. And he missed micro Puma there a bit and drove it into the range of the AT guns. And so that's a pretty nice pickup. That's what I was saying about. He got a little bit too gung-ho with it. I probably would have kept it with my army. So I'm just, like I was saying, you know, I want to harass the flanks. He has this really nice position in mid that I do know about. I have seen it. And I know his Jagdpanzer's probably in the area. So, you know, we're just going to come around this side, pick up territory, come around this side, pick up territory. As long as we can hold the outside VPs, we're in good shape. And Oberkommand really likes to play, you know, in a central location because, you know, that's how all of their units kind of work best, is if they're there to support each other. So, you know, Sherman claims another kill there. I think that's the third Fallschirmjäger squad that they've taken out. I believe I took out that Fallschirm squad with, you know, the Pathfinders backed up by these guys. Vet 3 Pathfinders are crazy good. They get extra range. So I should be able to outrange this MG here. I don't know if I attack moved or what I did. Probably just right-clicked the VP on accident. So I walked right into the MG. Is kind of like, you know, kind of silly. So we know, okay, we killed the Puma, we took out a Fallschirm squad here, we took out a Fallschirm squad there. My tanks are pretty beat up, so I just pull them back to base, pop the crews out, they're totally safe in base. So my plan here was I want to find the Jagdpanzer and pop rocket strafe on it while my Jackson's in range. I picked up a pack howitzer, you know, because of this position I've mentioned a couple times. It's definitely an entrenched position, and I would need some indirect fire to take care of it. And then, just to add, you know, one more unit to the mix here, pick up another Sherman. I don't really need more than one Jackson in this case. You know, it's not like he has a King Tiger out or a Panther or something like that. He only has the one Jagdpanzer. I already have 2 AT guns. No reason to get even more AT. And, you know, at this point, I figure with the 2 Shermans and a Jackson, I can make a really nice push on here. Force the issue. You know, I want to force him to reveal the Jagdpanzer because I do have that rocket strafe available. So my AT guns, they were over here a minute ago, and I just bring them back because I don't want Fallschirms popping out of anywhere and decrewing those. I need some repairing, need some healing, need some reinforcement. So yeah, this is basically the calm before the storm moment, just getting everything into position. Once again, like I keep saying, Pathfinders in the house just gives a ton of line of sight. You know, I'll see stuff, especially in this direction, which, I mean, it's aided by that, but I'll see stuff coming from miles. In this case, I actually wanted to avoid the Faust, because I don't know where his Jagdpanzer is, and I know he has like a Vet 2 Rakettenwerfer. I just didn't want to risk, you know, losing that. You know, before I said you can be aggressive, but when I was aggressive over here, I knew there was no AT in the area. It was a bit silly of sending those paratroopers in the mid there. I don't think I meant to do that. This is why I don't like opening with Stern Pyos. They just don't really scale that well into the late game because they have no weapon upgrade and their veterancy is geared towards repairing and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, a Vet 3 double bar rifle is just gonna wipe the floor with even a Vet 3, probably a Vet 4 Stern Pyo. So here I'm just getting into position to, you know, assault this. This is a good snapshot of kind of the goal of the build. I would say the core is this area right here, and including the rear echelon. So you want your double rifles, 3 if you want. You could probably do 3 rifles, 1 rear echelon. I like to do 2 rear echelon, 2 rifles. It's a bit less bleed, and like I said, if you paradrop stuff. In this game I didn't actually paradrop an MG. I probably could have and should have for this push, just to help suppress everything. But I just didn't at the time. I was pop capped, so And you definitely want your Pathfinders, like I said, use them as a support unit. Your paratroopers they're essentially your elite infantry. If you give them the M1919s, they're so amazing at max range. They can slow stuff with the suppressing fire, and it's only 20 munition, just spam the crap out of that. Timed explosive I don't think is that useful. I mean, I guess if they have a squad in the building, you could run up and do it, but they're going to see it coming. And of course they have grenades. The captain is still pretty good, you know, combat unit. He has a Thompson, which are really great, and he has a double bazooka. His goal, you know, flank enemy armor, kill their light vehicles, and he has some pretty nice abilities actually. This can get your guys out of suppression, and it's free. So if you need to get a squad out of suppression, you can. I'd be careful, you know, maybe you can get away from a grenade too, but it'll make everybody in the area clump up on him, and that can actually be problematic at times. And of course, you know, if you don't need him in the field, you can put him on battalion command post, and it'll make your tanks build a bit quicker. I think he was pretty much always fighting for me. I really like the squad. I keep him in the field, you know, almost all the time. After this core, you know, it's really up to you where you go. In this case, I chose extremely vehicle heavy. You know, this guy was relying a lot on Fallschirmjägers and pretty much not at all on Volks, so I didn't have to worry about a ton of Shreks running around, and any manpower damage I inflict is going to be huge because Fallschirms are so expensive to reinforce. You could, you know, earlier I did have a second set of paratroopers, but they unfortunately died. But you know, a second set of paratroopers is definitely viable. 1 or 2 AT guns, just depending on your needs, and the pack howitzer in this game. It doesn't, you know, the game's almost over, but it has helped a bit, I think, to soften up this position if I ever wanted to assault it. Yeah, you had to pull the Raketten back. So I'll just go ahead and play the end here. So here I'm leading with the Pathfinders, mostly just to get LOS for my Jackson. I'm not actually trying to fight them yet. I want to get the rest of myself into position, but I want to be aware of, you know, where everything of his is. This was a bit of an accident. I went to right-click on that, and it automatically pathed my guy, like, because I didn't have, you know, I couldn't shoot that way. I should have manually brought the AT gun over here. Yeah, I mean, I get both my AT guns shooting at the Jagdpanzer, calling the rocket strafe, and yeah. Between 2 AT guns, rocket strafe, Jackson, Sherman, it melted, you know, pretty quickly, and then he throws in the towel there. I mean, there's no way that he could push back this assault. He has, what, 1 Rakettenwerfer and some guys way in base that are too far to do anything, and so yeah, there's no way he was going to stop that. This is one of my favorite things to do, actually, to forward Oberkommand buildings, is find a really nice time to set up a push like this and just force the issue. You know, if you have an advantage and you can capitalize on that to kill their forward truck, it's pretty much GG. It just does so much damage to them. But, like I said, this right here is where you want to look for the core of the build. Everything else is you just kind of adapt to the situation. If you guys, you know, want any specific tips, just leave comments down below in the video, and I can try to give some good suggestions of what you might build to counter specific units. And like I said, the goal, we want to get the captain out as soon as possible to counter the Puma and the 251 Flak. An AT gun would be the next purchase if your captain can't, you know, handle it. If it's a Puma, you'll probably need an AT gun. If it's a 251 Flak, unless you can get a good flank, you'll probably need the AT gun. From there, you just want to get out the quickest possible Sherman. Like I said, it's, I think as we did the calculations, 50 fuel faster than a Lieutenant plus M15 build. And the ambulance timing is a lot of preference and a lot just how the game is going, but obviously ambulance is extremely important. I would not recommend fielding paratroopers without the ambulance, because you want to keep them in tip-top fighting condition as much as you possibly can. And even rifles, I just have a pet peeve of how much rifles tend to bleed if you do not have an ambulance. So I like getting ambulances pretty early. But alright guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, leave some comments, and if I could do anything better, maybe this was too long, maybe my camera work's not good. Just let me know what I can do better, and take care.